Hello everybody and welcome to another Community Fortress. This is a video about the fortress of Fangmirrors. This was sent in by Olivewolf on the Discord. If you would like to share a save for me to have a peek at, please do that via the DF save sharing room on my Discord. You can upload it to the Dwarf Fortress file depot, you could upload it to Google Drive, or simply directly to the Discord, whatever works best for you. You might need Nitro to upload your save, however. Now, this is the first save I've managed to get to load with mods, and the reason I was able to load it is because they also included their mods folder. Of course, I've had to back up my mods folder, which is a little bit empty, but if you have mods and your save, please copy and zip the mods folder alongside of the save folder. That way I'll be able to load it, I'll be able to look at it. At least in this case, I was able to. Previously, I've had some trouble loading modded saves. But with that aside, let's dive into the video itself. So they state that they were about to retire this fort due to having FPS problems, which I can help with a little bit, and at least point out why they were problems. And they were also having tantrum issues. But I really wanted to look at this fortress because it is a really cool design, and you'll see what I mean when we get inside. You may have seen on the thumbnail. If we look at the fortress itself, though, it's quite far away from its home civ. The home civilization is down here. It is one giant connected landmass, I think, yes, via this land bridge down here, but it is a very far travel distance all the way to this fortress, assuming they're even able to make it. So I'm rather impressed that they were able to be connected to their home faction at all, considering the size of this world, but you know, stranger things have happened. They do have a Helix, which is connected to them, which is a Goblin Helix, and I'm pretty sure that this is something that they took over. And there are, of course, a couple other Dwarven settlements around them, unrelated to their home faction. But Fangmirrors here of the Ignited Oil, which is a good name for a site government. It's like a lantern. Of the Doors of Questing is a very shallow fortress. So by shallow, I mean it's close to the surface. There's a lot of wind power going on here right up at the top, and immediately I can start pointing out why the frame rate in this fortress is rough, but I will save that until we get through with the tour itself. So on this upper layer, you can see we have this lovely, massive set of farm fields. You do not need to make farm fields this big, even in surface farming. This is a bit of an overkill. I think 4 about half the size of these ones would do just fine, or maybe even like 1 more of these ones would be more than sufficient to keep a fortress like this fed and clothed, but you know, whatever works. As for the front door itself, it actually took me a little bit to find it, but it is over here, at least from what I can tell. So there's this small set of cage traps and a few starving dwarves up here on the surface because it appears that, well, food is in short supply. Strange. As we go down and inside, I would like to point out, if we actually go up here and go over to pets and livestock, there's some domesticated livestock, but no real access to food. Note to self, if you run out of food in a fortress like this, a real good way to do that, to solve this problem, is to simply run outside and do the click, drag, all, and gather surface food. But there doesn't seem to be a ton here. There is some. All these little baggies can be gathered. And if we jump over here in this underground area where moss is growing, if we use the gather tool, you can actually see there's a few plants in here that they can gather as well. Now, it's kind of funny that this fortress is out of food considering there is so much variety around. It just kind of appears that everything's been brewed into drinks, which is a bit of a concern for the longevity of a fortress. But let's follow these ramps down into the fortress itself for the proper tour. As we go down, 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 we eventually encounter this layer. Now, this seems to be a kind of maniacal drowning chamber. There's water here with a whole bunch of water above, and I'm assuming that this little lever being connected to down here is their main form of defense, aside from obviously shooting ballista arrows directly at any foes that might be approaching. Of course, flooding this whole area quite quickly would be a pretty good way to waterlog almost any enemy. Although, looking at this, I do wonder, would this not flood through into this area as well? Unless that's the intention. I'm not quite sure. Once we're down in the fortress itself, though, if we hit Z on the keyboard, we can see they have a good number of barracks on either side. This fortress is definitely in a state of disrepair, as well as a barracks right here, barracks in the center. And this is why I want to talk about this fortress. Look at this. This is the Sweetness of keys. The biggest tavern I think I've ever seen. This is gigantic. If I move up a layer, we can see that we have all of these guild halls on either side here. In fact, some of them are multi-guild halls, like they have multiple spaces. I guess like if your guild hall gets big enough, you get more rooms in the dormitory. It's kind of a neat setup. And then we have offices as well as other noble spaces, as well as 2 separate archery ranges. And as we move up another layer and hit Z again, we can see there's a similar setup here, but for temples. And we can move up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And then we get to these small rooms up here. We have this very large hospital here, fully set up, well equipped with everything a hospital needs, as well as right across from it in the middle of this dumbbell shape, there's a well and more wells. We can move up and see this shape continues all the way up into the farms. So the first thing that I would change about this fortress, if I was building it, is this stair setup. So you've got possibly the worst setup you could possibly have for frame rate. I would go all the way up, channel out all of these, and it's not letting me click for some reason. But I would, I see why, because these are constructed, duh. I would go through and deconstruct all of these all the way up and down in this pattern. And in fact, I'm actually going to do this all the way up and all the way down. And there's a reason for this. The reason this improves your frame rate is one of the biggest eaters of frame rate for Dwarf Fortress is dwarves seeing each other, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what it means is if they're running up and down in this direction, they are constantly seeing each other. And if we limit this and replace these with pillars, that will lower the amount that they can see each other. Another thing that this also does is when they're running up and down, let's say they're going in the center or even on the corner, the amount of cardinal directions they have to get around somebody, because dwarves don't like to collide with people in a hallway, they want to go around each other. If they're both going up and down the stairwells, the number of options they have for directions is pretty exponential. This gives them the same ability to path around each other safely and quickly without having to worry about, oh God, what direction do I go? And this removes a lot of potential math from the CPU. So, just that. Those are my two, that's my first major thing, is I would replace all of those with pillars. Now, as we continue to view the fort, we go down to this massive tavern once again, and we're gonna just let those stairs start building, as they will. We can see that we have these massive stockpiles. And another problem that I'm noticing about this fortress is there's just a lot of things. You don't need 12,331 alcohol. It's cool to have, don't get me wrong, but you don't need it. That is a lot of alcohol for a fortress of this size. I would very much just not produce booze for a bit and just let it run out. Let it ease off. Just don't worry about that number so much. A fortress with 200 dwarves, I would say at most needs maybe 600 booze, maybe 1,000. You don't need 12,331. So that's not going to be helping you either. Then we have this massive temple, which I massively respect. These huge bedroom corridors. It's bloody epic, frankly. And this incredible dining hall in the middle, which I love. This is beautiful. The actual design of this fortress is cool as hell. I think it's just a bit of a shame that there's a few design decisions here and choices that have really crunched your frame rate down. Next thing in the center here is the actual drain for that water spot right there, which is real cool. Obviously, draining all the way down into here for any enemy invaders, which I'm assuming has a method of draining out down at the bottom. Yes, okay, so we could, I guess, theoretically use that trap door to drain it. Maybe they have a lever connected to it. Yes, it looks like there is a lever connected to this, so they will flip up this trap door to drain the bottom, which is real cool. You drop the enemies into there, you drown them. If they don't drown, they die on impact, and then after that, you pull the lever and let them out. That's real cool. I like that little trap design. And then down here is my favorite part of this fort. This. Look at this library. All it needs is these boulders removed. That's all it needs. This is awesome. This is so cool. I love giant objects in areas like this. This is super cool. The library itself has 565 bookcases, 40 tables, and 40 chairs, and 3 written objects. 3 books for all of that. But It just needs some scholars and some paper. You just need to assign a half dozen scholars to this, maybe 2 dozen scholars to this, and a couple scribes, and then just start buying all of the sheet that you can off of every trader and turning it into quires at a crafts shop, and you will have wonders. Then we have this humongous storage area and like just more of this. And then I'm assuming these areas down here are supposed to turn into the same design. Then down here we have tons and tons and tons of storage for tons and tons and tons of items, tons and tons and tons of open space for more of that. And as we go down, this is also a really big culprit for frames. Like just in general, these kind of massive areas like this, in my experience, they look cool and they're a fun way to harvest a lot of resources, but that's gonna hurt. Remember how I said that you have more than enough farm plots? Well, my point continues to stand, and there is so much food production down here. Like, I can look at this fort for just a minute and be like, okay, I know why your frames are rough. And it's stair design, it's layout. This is one of those forts that I would describe as designed to lag, as in it's just very ambitious with its scale, and ambitious forts in that regard tend to run slowly anyways. But you've also gone through and just overproduced literally everything from what I can tell. If I click the stock screen and we wait, that's not a good sign. Game's not responding. We wait. We wait. We wait. We wait. We wait. We wait. This is your problem. You've so heavily overdeveloped this fort to an unnecessary degree that you're never going to run this fort well on any PC, because every single one of these items in this entire map, all of these, especially the ones specifically that are not in stockpiles, so all of those items that are everywhere are getting temperature checks, they're getting location checks, they've got physics checks. Is something interacting with it? Is something bumping it? Is a dwarf moving past it? Is something causing it to heat up or cool down? The blocks aren't the biggest deal. The blocks will just slow down the speed at which your fortress loads, and as long as they're all being used, then you're good. You've got thousands of barrels, you've got thousands of drinks. The game is keeping track of the location and the amounts of all those. You do have plenty of seeds, so I'm not entirely... And you shouldn't be having food problems with this many seeds. The reason you're having food problems, from what I can tell based on the size of your gardens, is your dwarves just don't have enough time to actually harvest all of the gardens. If I jump to the location of one of these seeds, let's see where they are. All right, so they are in barrels, it looks like. Yeah, okay. So seed stockpiles, you're going to want to remove all barrels from seed stockpiles. Otherwise, the only seeds they can access are the ones on top, and the rest are all going to cancel. So you're going to get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of canceled farming jobs on these, because they're going to try and get seeds out of the barrel at the same time, and only one dwarf can get a thing out of a barrel at a time, as far as I understand the system anyway. So kill these massive farm plots, shrink them down to significantly smaller, unless you're intentionally trying to starve the fort to death, in which case, more power to you. Harvest some stuff and rebuild your stairs. Another thing I'm also noticing while I was waiting for their jobs to maybe sort themselves out a little bit, all of these dwarves are naked. They're all naked. You need clothing. You need some sort of clothing industry. A way to do that would be building a farmer's workshop, and then asking them to, what's the word I'm looking for? Process those pigtails that you were growing up on the higher layers, and turn those pigtails into cloth, and then those can be turned very easily into fabric, which can be made into clothes. I'm actually kind of at a loss here. I'm going through here and trying to get them to do things, and I think it's just going to take too long. But I'd be running this fortress for a little bit. I think you could save maybe 10 to 15 frames on this central staircase, and just simply not brewing alcohol for a bit and lowering down the amount of items in this fort. This fort could absolutely be recovered frame rate wise. The overall design of this fort isn't something that should be so brutal on the frames. Mostly, I think this fortress is okay, but my God, that library is cool. Please use this building aesthetic at some point again soon, and simply put pillars in your stairway right there, and be a little bit more logical with the amount of actual items you produce, because this thing looks way too goddamn cool. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like it, maybe advice style videos with talking about frame rate, maybe just more, maybe more just along the showcase lines, check out this YouTube channel. We have a huge playlist growing of community fortresses submitted by people in the audience. If you would like to submit a fortress, once again, you can do that via my Discord in the DF Save sharing room. Just please package your mods if you happen to have any. Ideally, send me vanilla save files because they are the easiest. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.